Exploitations of workers is a horrible crime, and it should be banned. What does it mean to exploit somebody? Transnational corporations now roam the world looking for the cheapest, most vulnerable workers. They're usually young women in poor countries like China, Africa, and India, many of them working up to 14 hours a week and for sub-poverty wages and under horrible conditions. They're denied their civil liberties, a living wage, the right to work in dignity in a health and safe environment. They work on fear and intimidation. They are threatened with punishment when they speak out, organize, or attempt to unionize. For 75 hours a week, including overtime, the pay comes out to be $57.19 or 76 cents an hour. Workers are prohibited from talking, listening to music, raising their heads, putting their hands in their pockets. They're fined for being 1 minute late, not trimming their fingernails, and in some cases even walking on the grass. They're searched from entering and leaving the facility, and anyone handing out flyers or discussing working conditions with outsiders can be fired. The assembly lines never stop, so workers needing bathroom breaks have to wait for scheduled times. As many as 10 workers live in small 12 by 14 rooms, sleeping on double-level, bug-infested beds. There's no shower, and water is available only a couple hours every night. Who does exploitation hurt? The workers. They're sick, they're tired, and some of them are beaten. Workers have little to no money to use in the local economy. So the villages where they live it's not just the workers that are hurt by exploitation, it's also where they live. And the environments that they live in are abused for natural resources. Why do we allow exploitation? People may think it's beyond their individual control and will continue to buy outsourced goods because it has little to no effect on the bigger picture. Companies use exploitation because it allows them to produce their products cheaper, and they in return get a higher profit. People may think it's beyond their control when it comes to buying outsourced goods because it has little or no effect on the bigger picture, but in reality it does. Companies the truth is hidden also. Companies don't advertise how poor the conditions are where their products are made. Not all companies exploit their workers, so it's really hard to determine what companies do exploit the workers and what companies do not. So it's hard to find companies that you can trust. What popular companies exploit their workers today? Well, Apple has faced a slew of bad press following deaths and reports of suicides in China supply firms. Foxconn is one of their technology outfitters overseas. 3 workers at Foxconn Technology died in a blast last year when dust from polishing iPads ignited. And a labor rights group have said 18 workers at Foxconn sites killed themselves or tried to in 2010. To lower the amount of suicides at Foxconn facilities, large nets have been placed to have been installed below windows to catch jumpers rather than fixing the real issue. And that's what these are here, they're nets below the windows. And it's kind of sad that they're just going to put up nets and say, well, maybe less people die now, you know. Workers like others who are exploited work long hours for little pay and stand so long that their legs swell and they can no longer work. And it's been said that underage children have also been employed to finish Apple products. Another company that exploits their workers is Hershey. In 2011, hundreds of foreign exchange students paid to come to America as part of a cultural exchange program to learn English and experience American culture while working. Instead, the students claim they are forced to work in backbreaking, round-the-clock production lines packing chocolates at the Hershey chocolate packing plant in Pennsylvania for wages as low as $1 an hour after mandatory deductions. When students complained, they claimed factory managers threatened to have them deported. Approximately 1.7 million children work in horrible, dangerous conditions in West African cocoa industry, while many chocolate companies have committed to guaranteeing that their suppliers do not use child labor. Hershey's refuses to release their supply chain, release information about their supply chain or purchase cocoa from only ethical suppliers, except in 2 product lines, which is their Bliss and Dagoba. So what are we doing to enable exploitation? Well, as Americans, we have grown accustomed to cheap goods. Whenever the price goes up, we complain and find a substitute. And chances are that these substitutes that we turn to are also exploited goods. Some people know about exploitation and some people do not. For those who do, it's sometimes easier to ignore the reality and the bigger picture and just go about our daily lives, do what we're used to, and just keep buying the cheap products. How can we fix this? Well, some people say, well, there should be laws. But the truth is that child labor is a complicated issue that legislation alone can't fix. And sometimes legislation can move children out of monitorable forms of child labor and into more hazardous employment where it's hidden. We can all help by taking small initiatives such as contacting our local suppliers or retailers and asking them about their policies on child labor. This can mean asking about products they buy from overseas. Do they have checks in place that ensure that child labor is not employed in making their products? Are there any alternatives to exploitation? Well, as a matter of fact, there is, and one of them is fair trade. This is a direct, what is fair trade? And this is a direct quote from their organizational website. Fair trade goods are just that, fair. From faraway farms to your shopping cart, products that bear our logo come from farmers and workers who are justly compensated. We help farmers in developing countries build sustainable businesses that positively influence their communities. We're a nonprofit, but we don't do charity. Instead, we teach disadvantaged communities how to use free money, how to use free market to their advantage. With Fair Trade USA, the money you spend on day-to-day goods can improve an entire community's day-to-day lives. So what are the pros to fair trade? One of the pros to fair trade movement is the improvement of living standards of the workers on small farms. Fair trade has improved communities. It's brought about women's rights, sound business knowledge, work safety, and promotes self-sufficiency and much more. There are cons to fair trade, and the biggest one that you hear is the prices are higher for the end user. This is because higher wages are going towards the workers. It's more beneficial even though you are paying a larger price. One con that businesses face is big businesses, especially in the coffee and tea industry, dislike fair trade because it focuses on smaller farms. This is better for the worker and the environment, but businesses can't buy in bulk, they can't control production, they can't control the prices. Video here. Is there a way to turn the volume up?
Should be right over on the... Fair trade is all about improving lives. But we don't do that through charity. There's no handout in the fair trade movement. In so many countries, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, the laws protecting workers are very, very weak, or they're not enforced. So for much of the agricultural working population around the world, life is very hard and it's not very safe. That's what fair trade is trying to change. In Ghana, for example, historically child labor has been a huge problem. We find that fair trade cocoa co-ops are building schools, creating scholarship funds, and sending kids on to high school and on to college. In Rwanda, we find communities that have invested in clean water and women's health. In Uganda, vanilla farmers get 8% of the final export price on average. But by connecting with the fair trade buyers here in the US, these small family farmers in Uganda have been able to get a fabulously higher price because they're not selling to local middlemen. So with the higher price, they in turn have been able to invest in the quality of the product. And the vanilla now is just incredible. The biggest change that we see on large fair trade farms and in the apparel factories is they're working in a safer working condition, they're getting bonuses as a result of fair trade. Workers are able to sit at the table and address problems with management. So there's a level of confidence that you just don't see outside in other workplaces. And so there's this invisible dividend in the fair trade world that you can't see, but you know it when you talk to a farmer. It's hope and pride and dignity because people are solving their own problems through fair trade.
questions?
You made some excellent points, and it, you know, certainly is frustrating to, you know, to see and to know about this, and yet we seem to somehow put it, you know, put it out of our minds. You know, the fair trade video certainly was a good one. It shows obviously a little bit of progress. Thoughts as to where this is going? Will it continue to get worse? Are we really going to be able to get a handle on it?
Fair trade started, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, and just in the past 4 years, I believe, it has really taken off. A lot of companies are really trying to focus on how they can change where their products are being made. Even Sienna, we have a fair trade organization. If you go to the bookstore, there's actually tons of fair trade products, chocolate, candies, all kinds of stuff. We have here we have a fair trade. What do you call it? I forget the term, but everybody comes together, and companies from all over the world come here and kind of show Sienna students what products they have and how they're better. And there is progress being made, and I think over the next, maybe the next just 5 years, there is going to take off even more, especially now that it's out there. You know.